Procon.org's Critical Thinking Seminar introduces students to the concept of critical thinking in a hands-on, interactive format. In this example, we explore the pros and cons of social networking, using critical thinking skills to analyze arguments and form our own opinions.
Thank you very much, Jasmine, and Junior Staters and folks for the Gene Bird Symposium. It's very good to be here, truly. You know, literally an hour ago, I was driving here from Las Vegas. And guys, help me out here. What happens in Vegas stays in Vegas. No, it gets put on the internet. Be careful. And that is the subject of today's talk. It's the pros and the cons of social networking. What happens whenever you post things onto Facebook, Instagram, Pinterest, whatever. What I wanted to do by a show of hands was ask you guys a question. And this is a no consequences question, right? I don't care what your opinion is. I just want to gauge the pulse. I want to understand from you right now, are social networking sites good for our society? How many are pro or yes? Okay, good. Now, in response to that same question, are social networking sites good for our society? How many people are con or no? Okay, then the third part is, in response to the question, are social networking sites good for our society? How many people are just not sure? What we're going to ask you to do next is read these 4 quotations that are on the page in front of you, and read them with those criteria right above it in mind. Those criteria include, what is the quality of the argument? What's the clarity of the argument? What about the strength of that argument? What about how old this argument is? Does that matter? What about the editing? Do all the ... dots make you suspicious that something key was left out? Really just think critically about these quotes. When I say go, you'll find your group of 5-ish people, and then what your assignment is going to be is to talk about these quotes and whether or not you thought they were good arguments, whether they made no sense, whether they were not strong, whether they weren't clear, whether they're too old, or whatever it is that you have to say, and we'll really just start thinking about it.
In small groups, students analyze the pro and con quotes they have read, then formulate their own pro and con arguments.
We all heard you guys making really good points in your groups, but you didn't get to hear each other. So now is the time where we kind of get to hear what each other has to say.
Nicole Ellison, the writer of this quote, she didn't come out as strongly as some of the other quotes. Like she wasn't as kind of just unilaterally kind of supporting one side.
With regards to pro number 2, the first thing I noticed was that it was from, the writer is from South Korea, which does kind of show just how much of a global aspect that it does have, that social media does reach out to.
In Mr. Hodgkin's first paragraph, he pretty much argues that Facebook is bad because it's redundant, because you can already have these conversations in person, which I didn't really find persuasive because having a second option doesn't seem so bad.
Dr. Greenfield says that basically social networking sites are bad because they lack significance and substance. In her words, they're devoid of cohesive narrative and long-term significance. And I disagree with this because not everything we do has to have significance in our lives. Like, I can enjoy a cheesy and really shallow movie, but that's totally fine.
And now shift gears to your pro and con arguments. What is a pro argument that social networking sites are good for our society?
It can help you meet people who you might potentially go on dates with and marry.
Okay.
Social media sites can help you communicate ideas faster.
My family's in Ohio and I come to California, I can Skype them and they can get to see me and I get to see them.
But now let's look at the other side, right? This is going to be fun.
It decreases human contact.
I believe that social media allows people to pretend to be other people, people they're not.
It kind of tempers with your writing skills. You get so used to writing like text messaging style, you start to write like that in papers.
There's one more thing we want to do. That sheet of paper that's in front of you, it has a grading system on it. And what I was going to ask you to do is look at those quotes that we looked at the beginning. And on a scale of 1 through 5, just force yourself, you don't have to agree with it, but just force yourself to evaluate the quotes on those criteria. The experience that you've had today is very typical of a pro-con experience. You've looked at both sides, you've read the statements, you've done some deep insight into it, and hopefully you'll continue to use pro-con for those needs across other topics. But now what we want to do is get our next vote. So, are social networking sites good for our society? In response to that, how many people are pro? Yes, yes, they are good for our society. How many people are con? No, they are not good for our society. How many people just not sure, weren't convinced one way or the other? There was a survey that was done here at UCLA. They asked 10,000 students who graduated what was the most important thing that they learned. They asked them this 10 years after they graduated. Number one was interpersonal skills. Number two, they said, was critical thinking. So wherever you end up going to school, if you end up going to school, just as you progress through your life, if you can apply that critical thinking faculty, you will end up a more fulfilled person, a smarter person. You won't be a sucker. You'll be more likely to vote. You'll be more likely to participate in community events, more likely to participate in democracy. Just a whole raft of good things, right? So if what we did today, you take a little piece of that home with you and apply it to anything and everything, we will feel like our job is well done. So for now, guys, thank you so much for your time, and come to ProCon. Thank you.